Here we have question number 9 on the January 2017 Algebra 2 Common Core Regents. And this is a statistics question, and this is a topic that didn't always used to appear on the Algebra 2 exam. So this is something that a lot of students really struggle with, so let's pay close attention here. Gabriel performed an experiment to see if planting 13 tomato plants in black plastic mulch leads to larger tomatoes than if 13 plants are planted without mulch. He observed that the average weight of the tomatoes from tomato plants grown in black plastic mulch was 5 ounces greater than those from the plants planted without mulch. So it does appear on the surface that his experiment was valid, because he was trying to see if planting them in black plastic mulch leads to larger tomatoes. And it says that the ones in the black plastic mulch had a 5 ounce greater weight on average than those from the plants planted without the mulch. So it looks pretty good so far. To determine if the observed difference is statistically significant, he re-randomized the tomato groups 100 times to study these random differences in the mean weights. Okay, this is really, really important here. Statistically significant. This means that the results are unlikely to be due to sampling, meaning it is unlikely that we just ended up taking those 13 groups, the 13 plants and the 13 plants, and that we just happened to pick the 13 plants that would yield a greater weight. That is, another way to think about this is, if it's unlikely that this happened because of sampling, then the results are legitimate. Then it does tend to, if not prove, but at least support the idea that the black plastic mulch helped. Now, if there's a really, really big variability in those numbers, the weights of the plants, and we could just as easily have gotten this 5 ounce greater result by just accidentally picking the higher yielding plants, well, then it's going to not be all that statistically significant, meaning it's not going to tell us that the mulch actually helped. So, if the results at random, or randomized results, are similar to the controlled experiment, the results are not statistically significant because, well, then we could have just gotten it randomly. So, the output of a simulation is summarized in the dot plot below. So realize these are the random ones in the dot plot. And the difference in the mean weight that he found was 5 ounces. Well, here we have a difference in the mean weight of 0, 10, 20, -10, and -20. Well, the 5 would fall right into here. And if we look in the random simulations, it looks like we still got a lot of 5 ounce differences. So that means that because these results can be easily acquired randomly, the black plastic mulch likely did nothing, or at least we can't say conclusively that it did anything, because these results are so common in the random simulation. Now, had he gotten a result of, say, 22 or 23 or even 20 ounces greater, see, this here would be very unlikely in a random scenario. Whereas the results all over here, these are likely in a random scenario. So, the results that are likely in a random scenario are not statistically significant and prove nothing. The results that are unlikely in a random scenario, well, if they're unlikely in a random scenario, that means that there likely was an effect. So these are statistically significant. And prove, or at least support, the experiment objective. So in this case, we've got 5. Well, the 5 is right here. That's very likely in a random scenario. So the conclusion that we could draw from this was, well, there was definitely an effect because the 5-ounce difference did occur. And that is greater than our mean, which is about 0 here. So we can't say there was no effect observed between the two groups. There was an effect, but it could very well be due to the random assignments of the plants to the groups because of how frequently it occurred in the random distribution. And again, it's important to understand that this distribution here is the random distribution. And if it occurs frequently in the random distribution, then it's not likely statistically significant, and it does not really prove that there's any sort of an effect of the black mulch. There could still be an effect, as there was, because we still did get a 5-ounce difference, but it could definitely be due to the random assignment of plants to the groups. If we look at the other two answer choices, there is strong evidence to support the hypothesis that tomatoes from plants planted in black plastic mulch are larger than those planted without mulch. That would be the case if we were in the outlier. If the results were so high that they virtually never showed up in the random test, then this would be the answer. And there's strong evidence to support the hypothesis that tomatoes from plants planted without mulch are larger than those planted in black plastic mulch. Well, that doesn't make any sense at all because we did get a result that showed that they were higher, but not statistically significantly higher.